In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can design a website that turns traffic into customers. And as a bonus, I'll also be redesigning a website as we go that applies these same principles so you can see how this would work in practice. Now, if you're watching this video, then you probably understand just how time-consuming it is to design and build a website. You might also understand that horrible sense of dread that creeps up when you launch the website, build up all this hype, and then nothing happens. No one downloads your ebook, no one buys your product, it's just crickets. In the next few minutes, we're going to be essentially using all of the tried and true principles of Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, and baking them into a website. Let's get into it. Before we get into the specifics, it's critical that we have a good mental model for conversion rate optimization that we can apply to all the exercises we're going to do throughout this video. And in a nutshell, we're solving a sales problem. So I want you to think of the last time that you made a major purchase. Was it a car, a house, even a lawnmower? Something that's like significant and non-trivial that you really had to think about. And if you can remember, how did you ultimately come to the decision to buy the thing that you ended up buying? You probably followed a predictable buying process. You had some sort of pain you were experiencing, you did a broad search of different options, maybe shortlisted a few, asked a friend for recommendations, looked for testimonials online, and then whittled the list down to perhaps one or two options and then made an emotional decision based on which one felt right to you. And that's more or less how everyone buys things. So if we can adapt our landing page to that exact buying process, we're much more likely for people to move through that part of the funnel. We're removing all of the friction that usually exists in sales because you're just speaking directly to the emotional needs of the buyer. Everybody makes decisions emotionally, even you, even me, but we have to be able to justify those decisions logically, and understanding the broad spectrum of what's important to people when they make an important buying decision is critical to building a good landing page that converts. So the first step is to understand the needs of your customers, and seriously, if you don't understand the needs of your customers, your landing page is never going to convert. Really, you should just stop the video now and go do something else. This is so important, you cannot skip this step. When most people write a book or build some product, they do it because they kind of want to, or they have an idea, and they never really stop to ask the question, who am I building this for? And it's essential that you know this, because if you know who you're targeting, not only is it easier to find those people and sell them the product, but also you can understand the underlying emotional needs of those people and design a sales page for them that's much more effective than it would be otherwise. You're also not usually just selling to one person, especially in large business-to-business transactions. There's usually lots of different personas. There's the person that's actually looking at your landing page, their manager, an executive buyer. So you want to list all of them out and try to paint a picture of what's important to each of them as you go through this process. You also really want to try and understand what they're trying to achieve by using your product. For example, if you look at Gmail, your feature set might be send quick emails, categorize all your information in one place, but people are really just trying to communicate information with others in their life and organize and sort that information in a way that makes sense to them. The landing page that we're going to be redesigning today is DataDog, and they're basically a software monitoring suite that lets you know when your website's going down. So you can imagine who might be interested in a solution like this. There's solo developers that have a list of clients that are helping to manage the stability of the products that they've built for them. There's large corporations that have a broad portfolio of different online products that they're trying to monitor at once. And of course, there's all the managers in between that are just interested in looking at different tools and maybe recommending one to their boss. So today, for the sake of making this video a reasonable length, we're just going to focus on the freelancer persona and design a landing page that's really built for them. Now that we know who we're designing this for, let's start with the basics. We need a modern color palette and font to use for the site. For the colors, just go to coolors.co, link in the description below, and just press spacebar until you found an interesting color palette that works for you. For fonts, don't sweat this too much for now. I'm gonna make a separate video on this. Just go to Google Fonts, sort by popular, and pick one that works for you. There's a lot of talk nowadays about the concept of an MVP and just getting a dirty landing page up there to validate the idea, but as time goes on, the floor for what's acceptable for customers is getting higher and higher. So your site needs to, at the very least, look somewhat professional, but it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. A sense of uniqueness is oftentimes just as important because it carves out that little space in a customer's mind that's reserved just for you. Companies that do this really well are Hey and Basecamp. These products have intentional weirdness in their design that kind of builds their own personality. A couple of other guiding principles that we're going to be following here is that we want to be as specific as possible. Specificity helps you relate with people, and that's what gets people to form trust, and ultimately a transaction emerges from that. We're also going to be keeping text on the page to as little as possible. People generally will not read on the internet unless they're explicitly reading a book or an article or something. So if they're scrolling your landing page, they're scanning, they're not reading. And then of course, we're going to keep an eye out for basic grammar and syntax errors. We can't be having spelling errors on our landing page. It just makes everything more confusing and you look like a dingo in the end. For DataDog, we're going to keep this nice purple that they've got on the existing site, but we're also going to switch them to a dark theme. Sticking to the theme of understanding your customers, the personas we're designing for are people that are staring at screens all day. So if we hit them with a bright white landing page, they're probably going to be very frustrated and maybe click away instantly. We're going to treat their eyes with respect and make the default really dark and easy to look at. Now that we've got the groundwork covered, for this next section I want to start with a little experiment. Take a look at this landing page. Now, without rewinding the video, can you tell me what that landing page was trying to sell you? What problem were they trying to solve for you? If your unique value proposition as a service or a product is not immediately clear to the customer, they're going to click off. People aren't patient online anymore, and if they're confused or unclear in any way, they're just going to go somewhere else. That's why this section is all about getting the unique value proposition absolutely airtight. I need to understand as a customer what you do for me. How do you make my life easier immediately when I land on your landing page? I'm showing some really good examples now, and these are sites that I would consider absolutely stellar. It's very clear immediately who this website's for and what they solve for those people. So in order to explain your unique value proposition, you use a combination of the first header at the very top of your page and usually some sort of illustration to the right or just below it. We're answering the question, who is this product for and what does this product solve for those people? So to the best of our ability, we're going to try and use 6th grade reading language whenever we're typing out this header. It needs to be dead simple. I shouldn't have to engage my brain here. Just explain what you do. And generally speaking, when I'm coming up with these headers, I'll just type out a very long sentence that describes the exact value proposition of the company for that persona. And then I'll whittle it down to maybe like less than 10 words. So here for DataDog, what we're going to do is explain the unique value proposition in text, but then also have a simple little illustration over here on the right that kind of communicates to the user that we'll be just notifying you of any kind of issue that's going on in real time. I can imagine if I had lots of different tools that I was monitoring with DataDog, I'd want a system like this constantly just beeping at me, telling me, hey, this is down, you might want to look at this. Regarding the text itself, if we really think about what customers are trying to achieve with a tool like DataDog, it's I don't want to lose money because my services are out somewhere and I'm not aware of it until a couple of hours later. Customers are churning all the while. Really, at the end of the day, I just want to quickly resolve things before it impacts the bottom line. A very short, simple phrase that encapsulates that quite well is fix outages before users see them. Explains the emotional benefit of the product quickly without having to engage my brain too much. Now remember when we said that people buy things emotionally and then justify logically? Well, this is the part where we hit the customer right in the feels. And that's why it's essential that we understand customers deeply, because what we're going to try to do here is explain the features of our product, but through the lens of the benefit to the customer. I can send emails, great, that's a feature. What's the emotional benefit? I can communicate with my family. Oh, So after noodling around on Reddit for quite a while, I came to the conclusion that there's really 3 benefits to the individual freelancer persona for DataDog. There's the ability to just connect with any tool that you want. As a user, the emotional benefit is just like flexibility. I don't necessarily want to have to worry that you don't connect with Slack. I just want to be able to connect to anything. I never want to be uncertain that you're unable to connect with my tools. And then there's the notion of monitoring things in real time. As a user, the benefit is just kind of like peace of mind here. I don't want to have to be checking DataDog to figure out what's going on. I want it to be proactive, monitoring things in real time for me, and then only making me aware of problems when I need to be aware of them. And then of course there's the feature of DataDog being able to just generate insights from the data itself, as opposed to just notifying you that something's went wrong. If you can do that extra step and just explain to the user how much money they're losing every minute this is down, it helps me understand how to prioritize the different outages that are in my queue and just ultimately do my job better. And for each of these blades, again, we're sticking with the same paradigm of just using some header text and then accompanying that text with an illustration that explains that idea visually as well. Now, when is the last time you bought something that didn't have a whole bunch of customer reviews? I'll wait. Every time I buy something, I'm on Amazon looking at the number of reviews, I'm asking friends for referrals, I'm on Reddit looking for testimonials. Social proof is integral to the buying process. It's very rare that someone will just buy something without a robust amount of social proof. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're making a transaction with a human, and humans trust other humans. So there's 2 types of testimonials we'll generally be working with. One is business to business, and you're usually looking at case studies, long form testimonials with big flagship corporations. And then there's business to customer, things like Dropbox or Google Drive, where instead you want to just spray a whole bunch of testimonials at the user and just help them understand that everyone is using this, everyone is happy, they're going to be part of an awesome community of happy users. So for DataDog, we're going to add social proof in 2 ways. First, we're going to add some testimonials to the body so that users can actually see, oh wow, there are other companies, other big companies that are using this service and presumably getting some kind of value from it. And we're also going to add a simple little blade of logos underneath the header so we can hit users with some social proof immediately when the page loads. In case they haven't ever heard of DataDog, they can know, oh, these guys are actually a big deal. I should probably scroll a little further. And of course, none of this matters if you don't do this last step. Conversion rate optimization is not something that you just do once and then you're done. It's a constant iterative process. Everything you do changes the way customers see your product, which then requires a response from you, and then the cycle continues and continues. And as you go, you learn more about your customers and you're able to speak more clearly and directly to their exact emotional needs. So don't stop. Keep interviewing customers, keep learning what works and what doesn't, and then baking that into your landing page as you learn more. So here's the final result of our DataDog redesign. I think that this website would do a significantly better job of getting people to actually sign up for the platform. But at the end of the day, it's important that you understand that conversion rate optimization is really not magic. It's a very scientific, goal-oriented process. And it's really just a visual representation of how well you understand your customers. So at the end of the day, if you really want to design something that converts well, you should kind of get out of Figma and just have more conversations with customers. That will naturally help you write better copy and come up with better landing page sequences to get them through the door. If you found this one useful, I made a playlist of a whole bunch of other landing page redesigns that you can check out right here. Hope to see you in the next one.